Hello, I'm very excited to be presenting here at Coach Now 2022. There's so many things that have happened in the coaching world and so much new. I want to tell you about one more new thing, which is organizational culture coaching. You might have heard the terminology before, but it actually is a thing now. And I want to tell you today about the findings when it comes to motivating employees and leaders, and also what is organizational culture coaching and how does it help understand human experience at work. But first of all, let's look at some saying that you might already know for a long time. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. This is what Peter Drucker said already in 2006. But do we really know how? What's happening? We have been measuring engagement. We have been training our leaders in different things. We've been training them to look at the DISC profile and in emotional intelligence and all kinds of other things. Yet, how does it really work? Like, what do leaders actually need to do to influence culture and to influence employee engagement? And how can they run the company these days so that they will maximize the triple bottom line, not just profit, but also people's and planet's interests? So as a result of the pandemic, lots of companies obviously had to change strategy because, the environment has changed. You need to change your strategy. But there were also some companies who actually decided to, in addition to strategy change, also make changes in organizational culture. And these are the types of companies that Maslow Leadership, company based in Canada, was measuring during pandemic. So they started off with the theory that there is a link between Maslow hierarchy of needs and employee experience at work. So in a way, again, looking at some of the old, already known theories and how do they relate to the current employee experience at work. So interestingly enough, there is a lot of connection. So what during this research, what was discovered that there is a connection actually in the self-actualization of employees at work and the company reaching the potential. So a different kind of Maslow hierarchy of needs was formed, which was for culture actualization at work. So it has the basic needs, psychological needs and growth needs of an organization in order to fulfill its potential. So what is culture actualization? It actually is a process, and it is a process that takes into account and fosters the knowledge that people are emotional intelligence and empathy, human-centered design thinking, takes into account the North Star of the company and of the people, and also the strength that you have. And it includes self-actualization of individuals and teams, and it also has coaching and mentorship. So it essentially, culture actualization ties them all together, and by focusing on culture actualization, you can foster employee needs. And when employee needs are met, they are not going to get disengaged that fast. So here is the missing link between employee engagement and organizational culture. Because we all know that those people who came to the offices in who left the offices in 2020 are not the same who came back this year, when the pandemic supposedly has ended in lots of parts of the world. And we need to understand also what has changed as a result of now. What are the employees like today? Because we've all heard about the Great Resignation. We know that employees are leaving in higher numbers than ever before in North America, but also in Europe. And in addition to that, research done by Deloitte Analytics discovered that also 70% of the leaders in corporations, they are planning to leave, so that their well-being will be taken care of better. So Maslow Leadership thought it's time to measure employee and organizational culture again and see what's going on now. And interestingly enough, the employee needs have shifted again. And this time the shift is quite interesting. You know, when previously onboarding and job security were not part of basic needs, then these days they are. And also inclusion is part of a basic need, and networking. So diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives, all you're doing a good job. At least you're meeting employee basic needs, what they expect from work. Another big shift was that the psychological needs of employees are really related to colleagues, that they are looking for belonging, friendship, and collaboration from the colleagues. So essentially, make sure that the employees that work are not toxic and that have similar value base as the rest of the employees, and you're doing a good job with the meeting psychological needs of employees. And the big chunk of responsibility of growth needs has actually shifted to the leader. When previously we were used to expecting leaders to broadcast the purpose, role model the values, and clarify goals. Then in addition, what is expected from them today is also that employees are included in decision making, that they are offered coaching and mentoring, empowered, given feedback. And in addition, the leaders also are expected to get along with each other and actually work cohesively together rather than against each other. So this is some new new responsibilities that the leaders have. So no wonder 70% of them want to leave, because how do I do all of that? And it can be really overwhelming to think about how can we respond to the changing environment and the changing needs of employees and leaders so quickly. And that's why you're here on the conference. There's been a lot of great tools already discussed, and I just want to add one more to it, which is organizational culture coaching. That can actually help you figure out where to focus first, rather than try doing everything at once. And how do you know where to focus? During this research that was done during and post-pandemic, Maslow Leadership also developed an index on how to measure culture. It's called Culture Actualization Index. And once you've measured culture, you're more likely to understand which needs of your employees and leaders are met and which ones are not. And that will enable you to set focus and figure out the action plans. And obviously, as you can imagine, changing organizational culture does not happen overnight. So it helps to measure 1 year, set some goals, make some action plans, and then see where you get a year later. Hopefully you have made great progress. So to summarize what I have discussed, I also want to let you know that you're not alone. You don't have to do organizational culture coaching alone. In addition to having developed the the Culture Actualization Index, which in essence can really replace engagement indexes because it is more comprehensive and it is actually is telling you where to focus as well. Maslow Leadership has also been training organizational culture coaches. So you can actually work with an organizational culture coach who will be able to help you administer the survey and be a consultant and later a coach if needed on your path to culture actualization in your organization. So these are just for summary here. What I want you to take away is that culture coaching helps with culture actualization, which means reaching organization's potential. Then how do you understand employee motivation? It's driven by understanding their basic psychological and growth needs. And how do you understand that? You can measure them by Culture Actualization Index, and also you can set KPIs that are specific for culture. And in addition, Maslow Certified Culture Coach can support you in the process. So the world has changed, and fortunately there are people who are researching and figuring out how to cope with this change and how to make these changes less painful for everyone. And I'm hoping that my presentation today has given you some thoughts and pointers, and hope you join me in trying to transform the organizational culture to one where the needs of employees are met and organizational potential is reached. Thank you very much for listening. Have a lovely rest of the evening.